Alright, so it looks like our creaming is done. If you have a look at the creaming, let me just turn this off here for a second. It kind of looks like creamy mashed potatoes. It's still a little solid, but it's not runny. It's not going to be runny because of the sugar. Basically what happens is the sugar and the sugar is being pressed into the butter. But the butter's heating up and it's getting creamy. So you can see how that is just smearing across. It's almost like a frosting actually, if you think about it. But you probably wouldn't want to eat this as frosting. It'd be a little gritty. So I'm just going to clean the bowl, or scrape it down, put it in the middle there, and here we go. Next step is we're going to add eggs to the creaming. You can let it cream a little bit longer while you do your eggs. I'm going to take 2 eggs, 2 full large eggs, put them in a bowl. And then I'm going to take 4 egg yolks. A lot of people want to do the whole scooping it into an eggshell. I find this to be actually a little bit easier. Just letting it run over your hand, running through your fingers. It'll separate. And there you go. That's 2. And you're not sitting there back and forth worrying about is the egg going to break or anything like that. And if you get an eggshell in the mixture, that's fine. We can get it out. And just take it back with a spoon if you do get an eggshell. Just look around, make sure there's no eggshells in there. I like to change my gloves at this stage because it is raw eggs. Put on another set of gloves. And you notice I turned down the mixer because I don't want to I want to cream it, but I don't want it to melt the butter to completely melt or anything like that. So these egg whites are perfectly good. You can use them for an omelet the next day or something like that. So you're going to let 1 egg go in there. Let it fully incorporate, come together so you don't see any more of the egg, that kind of thing. And then you go to the next egg. And just keep it over there so you're not dripping eggs all over the place, all over your counter. Next egg, and again it's just like the sugar, you don't want it to shock the batter or anything like that. You want to make sure everything gets evenly put in there. If you were to throw them all in there, it would just be really mushy and gooey and it'd take a long time to mix. So if you can see in there that I'm waiting until all the egg is gone. It is getting a little bit yellower. And then I have that. Okay. Next I'm going to take my dry ingredients and I'm going to take my wet ingredients. I have that there. So I'm going to turn off the mixer, scrape down the side. You see it's a lot more runny because of all the liquid from the eggs. So I'm just scraping down the sides just to make sure that everything gets mixed up evenly in the bowl. I'm going to add about 1/3 of the dry mixture. Again, not to shock the batter or anything like that. So you can eyeball it. It's about 1/3. And I'm just going to mix this until it's all the powder is gone. It's going to get really clumpy, really thick. As you can see, it starts to pull away from the sides and then it'll go back out on the sides. So then I'm going to add half of the dry or the wet mixture. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. but you just don't want to put all of it in there at one time. And you're mixing it on low now, you're not mixing it on high, even if you had it on high before to do the creaming. You want to mix it pretty slow, first setting. And the way you can tell this is incorporated is it's going to start to change its color, more pumpkin color. And it's starting to incorporate. Turn that off, we'll scrape down the bowl. And I'm just running the spatula down the side of the bowl from above where the mixture is. And I'm going all the way down to the bottom of the bowl because the paddle doesn't necessarily reach the bottom of the bowl. I'm going to add half of what's left in here, which would be the second third. We're going to turn it on low. Don't turn it on high, you'll have a big old mess, especially with the powder. And by the time you're done with all this mixture and stuff like that, the oven should be preheated. I believe I heard it beep. And you're letting it preheat a little bit longer so that it does stay that heat. I like to have a little thermometer inside the oven, because not necessarily is the gauge inside the oven the correct way. I put the thermometer on the opposite side of the oven, so the temperature gauge in most ovens is in the back. I put another thermometer in the front. That way you can, the bag is going to say it's 340 degrees, and then I can look at the front and also see that it says 340 degrees. Because not all ovens are going to heat up exactly the same. Okay. So then I'm going to add the remaining of the wet ingredients. And just try to get as much of it out as you can. This is a pound cake, so it's going to be a very thick cake. As you notice, the wet ingredients aren't that runny. If you had a softer cake, it would be a little more. It'd be a little more runny, a little more liquid. So I'm going to mix that out. Until that's incorporated. And that's getting incorporated there. And we're going to add the last of the dry ingredients. And I did say this was going to be a chocolate chip cake. Chocolate chips, you don't want to mix them in until the very end. You can fold them in by hand. So we're going to get all these ingredients together. You can see how that's thickening up. Get your pan ready. I have chocolate chips. You can buy chocolate chips at the store. You can buy a block of chocolate, baker's chocolate, chop it up by hand, whatever you prefer. I use a combination of both, so it's a little bit of chopped chocolate and a little bit of chocolate chips. I kind of like the chopped chocolate because it's more irregular, and you get bigger chunks. And who doesn't like bigger chunks of chocolate? So. Okay, so that's all mixed up, and I am going to clean the paddle. Get as much of this goodness off of the paddle. There we go. Put that in there. And I'm going to get the edge of this bowl. You can see there's still stuff that has been mixed. So I'm going to mix this a little more to make it smooth. I like to have the cake batter smooth before I add anything, if I'm going to add nuts or if I'm going to add raisins or chocolate chips like we're going to do here. So there, that's all there. Just adding the chocolate chips in there. And I'm just going to fold it over. Basically, I'm going from the bottom of the bowl over. Turning the bowl, folding it in. Scrape the sides, come from the bottom, scrape the sides, and then just one little sweep. And you can see how the chocolate chips are in there pretty evenly. So take the bowl, and you're just going to pour it in. That looks really good, actually. And just scraping the sides. And I can't wait to get this out of the oven so I can eat it. So I'm going to take the batter and I am just going to smooth it evenly around the pan. It should fill about half of the pan up. It doesn't have to be this pan. It could be 2 8-inch pans. It could be 2 9-inch circle pans. You just don't want to go pretty much over half of the pan, because then you're going to get the cake will rise because of the baking powder, which is helping the cake rise. And then it's going to crack and it will fall back in on itself. And then you're going to cut off a lot of it, and it's a lot of waste. So. I like to shake it just to smooth it out. I try to avoid banging it on the table. Some people say it's fine, some people say it's not. I just don't do it. I was always told you don't want to lose the egg. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it in the oven on the middle rack. I'm going to leave, about 2 inches on either side. If you're going to have 2 pans, you can fit 2 pans like that, and you still have 2 inches, 2 inches. It's on convex, so the middle rack is fine. And I'm going to check it in about 35 minutes or so. Okay, and it should be good. Okay, so it's been about 45 minutes. I can start to smell the flavor of the cake. That's how I always tell if a cake is ready to be tested, to be taken out. Some people don't have that, some people do, but I can smell the pumpkin, I can smell the chocolate, I can smell all of the goodness. So I'm going to test it first to make sure that it is ready to come out. So I just take it, I take a toothpick, I have a bamboo skewer. Since it has chocolate chips in it, it might be a little hard to test, but we're going to test it anyway. So you can see there's some chocolate chip on there, but you can see there's some cake crumbs and stuff. So you want to make sure that it's just cake crumbs. There's very few cake crumbs. I like to test in a couple of spots. Like that came out really clean. So you want to make sure it comes out clean and there's no batter. So that looks like it's done to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the cake out and I'm going to put it on a cookie rack or cake rack, whichever one you want to call it. Make sure you turn off the oven. I'm going to leave it on this cake rack for about 5 minutes. Some other things you might want to be able to tell, depending on the kind of cake you use. It'll start to pull away from the sides when it's done. It'll start to crack on the top. Those are some signs that it's done baking. So I'm going to let it sit there for about 5 minutes. And while we wait for it to cool off a little bit, we will come right back. And then we will take the cake out of the pan. We'll cut it in half. We'll put some icing on it, and we will set. So, thank you.